The Glacier Express is the most famous train in Switzerland, traveling through the Alps, including this legendary viaduct. But is this panoramic train worth the price? Join me in first class on the Glacier Express as we explore the seats, the views, the service, as well as alternatives today on Markus Travels. Welcome to Brig, where we're going to grab the Glacier Express over towards Chur. The Glacier Express is normally an 8-hour trip one way, from Zermatt, close to the iconic Matterhorn mountain, to the luxury ski resort of St. Moritz. Due to storm damage, the first part of the route was closed, so my journey starts in Brig in the canton of Wallis. The train is going to depart right here on my right-hand side on the tracks that are out here on the railway square, whereas the most of the normal trains depart from the normal tracks that are beyond that railway station there on my left. Already here, the views are amazing. There's mountains in front of me, there's mountains behind me as well. I think this is going to be a beautiful journey over with the Glacier Express. There's a castle with a beautiful courtyard just 10 minutes walk from the station. I arrived here on the SBB Astro train from Basel. I paid for this trip myself so that you get a non-sponsored and authentic travel review. The Glacier Express requires 2 tickets. One is a regular transportation ticket, either first class or second class. Then you also need a seat reservation. We'll talk more about the price and the value for money at the end of the video. You can also learn more about how to book this trip with a link in the description. The train station in Brig is a perfectly pleasant small station. There are 2 restaurants, one with a bakery, a pharmacy, and a kiosk. They have bathrooms which require coins to enter. Then there's this fake birdhouse which was clearly malfunctioning. Welcome to my channel, Markus Travels. Let's get to the train. Our train has arrived. Let's board the Glacier Express. The Glacier Express is very Swiss. In the design, they are leaning heavily into the red and white of the Swiss flag. Because this is a panoramic train, we have big windows in both first class and second class. And the crew was doing an excellent job keeping them clean. But you'll see later that that's also the case for the regular trains. Keep that in mind. The first class cabin is laid out in a 1+2 seating configuration. Here you can also see the windows at the top. They will give you great views of the mountain peaks that we will be passing by. Welcome aboard the Glacier Express. It looks like I'm the only passenger in first class today. The first event, once we depart Brig, is going to be the 3-course meal served at my seat. I had originally reserved a single seat on this side, but I moved to the bigger table across the aisle with 2 abreast seating. The seat features are the same on both sides. There's a table that folds out. Those grooves in the middle are for glasses and bottles so they don't slide around on the table when the ride gets a bit bumpy. There's also additional dedicated bottle holders. I would recommend using them, as you'll see soon. We'll check out the information and entertainment system as we get going. Now it's time to depart Brig on the Glacier Express. We roll out of the station and immediately start climbing towards the mountains. We are following the river, which we cross on multiple occasions. Indeed, I am by myself. We are now climbing out of Brig. Beautiful mountains on the left, beautiful mountains on the right, and a flowing, nice white river down there as well. I believe that river is the Rhône, which I obviously cannot pronounce properly in French. A big part of this journey is the impressive engineering that went into this railway. We go through the mountains via 291 bridges and through 91 tunnels. Our ride today certainly is a bit shaky. I think maybe that has to do with the narrow gauge railway that we have running here in the mountains. This is not a cog railway, but sometimes it sounds like it when the train is kind of bumping along, and especially on the way up there was some kind of rattle constantly there. You may be able to see some of the shakiness here in the footage, but I also do use image stabilization, so let's see in editing how that looks. The first class car is located at the rear of the train. That means we get a great view of the narrow gauge track behind us. The track width is just 1000 millimeters, whereas the standard gauge through much of Europe, including Switzerland, is 1435 millimeters. The bumpiness is crazy. We're on a completely horizontal plane. We're not descending, we're not ascending. We're just going straight and we're kind of bumping along. And the speed is, I don't know what the speed is, 30 kilometers an hour or something like that? I don't know. Don't expect a high-speed rail type of experience when you're riding the Glacier Express, that's for sure. In this clip, the image stabilization in my camera is switched off. I'm hand-holding it on a selfie stick. So you should be able to see a little bit more of that bumpiness as we crawl along here at 20, 30 kilometers an hour. The bottles are moving around on the table. You maybe heard the clink of the glasses. Already a bunch of things have fallen on the ground, like my camera battery charger and my cell phone, so definitely keep those on the seats, don't put them on the table. Fun times. And for the next clip, I'm gonna enable image stabilization again. The real attraction of the Glacier Express is the views, that's clear. But I also mentioned that there's food, and I sure thought that it would be served right after departure. Even before we departed, the female crew member welcomed me on board, and she checked, "You booked the 3-course meal, right?" Soon after departure, the male crew member comes over, he hands me the menu and sets my table. Looks promising, but there's no food at this time. However, I would like to order something to drink, but he never came back. After about half an hour, I chased down the male crew member in the restaurant car and ordered a radler and a water. 20 minutes after that, this is now 50 minutes after departure, the female crew member comes back and asks me about drinks. She was surprised that I had already gone and gotten them. The food has arrived. At least the first course of the 3 courses has appeared now on my table as I was visiting the bathroom at Andaman. That's 1.5 hours after departure. So they say this is the world's slowest express train. It must also be the world's slowest service on board. Right on brand. The salad was fine, but nothing to write home about. Not worth the wait. This is the rack railway going down. I just stumbled there because the train started and then abruptly stopped. That was now the 3rd time that happened. We have now stopped after crossing a portion of the Oberalp Pass. We had 3 big lurches, kind of start and stop, and everything flew around here in the cabin. And now we are stopped in a downhill kind of position. I'm not afraid that it's dangerous or anything like that, but they switched off the train. So there's normally it's kind of humming from the air conditioning system, I think, and from the general engineering systems of the train. That humming is now gone. It just went quiet. So we are stopped. We have forest views on both sides. Let's see what happens. And that was a 4th lurch, a slow acceleration, and then a violent deceleration. Okay, now we're rolling again. Let's see what happens. 5th time's the charm, huh? But I'm gonna hold on. That happens again. I'm gonna hold on to the table, and luckily there's handles on the backs of the chairs as well. Looks like we are okay. I can stand up. Let's do it. But I do think something did break. I don't think the air conditioning is working anymore, and my camera battery is no longer charging in its little charging dock, so I think the electricity in this car is now gone. I guess brakes don't work with electricity. They fixed it. The air conditioning is humming along again and the battery is charging. Now the only thing I'm waiting for is the 2nd course of my meal. We are now 2 hours and 20 minutes after departure and I've only had the starter. The main dish was a chicken fricassee with cream sauce of sun-dried tomatoes and leek, with finger-shaped potato noodles and green beans. In terms of presentation, quality and portion size, it's about the same as I get in my office canteen for 7 francs. This meal was 49 Swiss francs, which is $57 US. That does not include any drinks, and that's in addition to the ticket and the seat reservation. The dessert course was a mousse-type dish with speculoos crumble. It was okay. Let's chat about the meal service while I have it fresh in my mind. I just finished the main dish and the dessert as well. At around 4:50 p.m., which is 2.5 hours after departure, I walked over to the restaurant car and I wanted to inquire, how does the system work? When will the second meal or the second dish be served? While I was standing there waiting, the gentleman waiter was carrying the plates of the hot dish to the other first-class compartment. Okay, this is a good sign. Something is happening. And then the lady server came after, and she engaged me quickly and briefly, and you might even say aggressively, because I didn't even get a word out, and she just asked, "Are you here for the service?" And then continued, "Yes, it's on a schedule. You're going to get your meal in about 2 minutes. Is that okay?" And I was like, well, I didn't know that it was a schedule. How am I supposed to know that meal service takes, including the dessert, 3.5 hours on this service? That is not a reasonable expectation. I certainly didn't expect it. And then when she came over, she also mentioned that they have this schedule, which I didn't know about, kind of with this attitude of, well, we have our schedule, and if you don't know that, that's your fault. That's not really a good customer service mentality. Fairly typical for Swiss customer service, though, so nothing unexpected in that regard. So if you are an international traveler, if you're coming from the US, if you're coming from Asia, just don't expect home country, home style customer service in Switzerland. When she delivered my meal, I also asked, can I also get the dessert at the same time? And within a couple of minutes, her colleague, the male server, came through and just dropped it on my on my table without saying a word. No apologies for the delay, no nothing like that. No enjoy your meal, nothing like that. Just plopped it down and just went back. Typical Swiss customer service. If you come here, definitely lower your expectations in that customer service department. Oh, and lest you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, I have been living in Switzerland for almost 14 years now. All in all, that interaction with the female server, it just turns so hostile and combative without it having to, only on account of me being there, just waiting in the restaurant car. I didn't even say anything. I wanted to know how the system works, and suddenly I'm accosted by the staff. Anyway, not a great experience in that regard. Oh, and that signal, by the way, means that there is something happening on the in-flight entertainment I was about to say, but in the in-train entertainment system, you can hook your headphones into it, and every time they have one of those chimes, there's something interesting about the part of the journey that they're going to tell us about. For example, it's been about the history of Switzerland, it's been about hydroelectric power, and most recently it was about the highest pass, the Oberalp Pass on this route. After the meal, the crew handed out little cookies like this. When the crew cleared my table after the meal, they omitted to wipe the crumbs off. And they also didn't pick up my unused glasses. Here you see, this is not a premium service. The highest point on the trip is the Oberalp Pass at an elevation of 2,033 meters, which is 6,670 feet. The entertainment system is pretty nice for a tourist train. They have the explanations in multiple languages, including English. They also have some information on the screens in the cabin. On the tables, you will also find these brochures that describe the entire route in detail with interesting facts. They are also in multiple languages. The seats have power outlets of the Swiss style. Most European ungrounded plugs, like cell phone chargers, work in these outlets. The first-class car features a wardrobe at one end of the car. That's actually quite nice, so people have a place to hang their coats. This and the audio system are the only aspects that feel premium in the Glacier Express experience. As for Wi-Fi, it's kind of available. You can connect your phone to the onboard portal. It has a map, the dining menu, and information about the route and such things. If you want access to the real internet, You need to log in with SMS registration. I did not, since I had a mobile data connection everywhere except the tunnels. The first-class cars have 2 lavatories between them. There's a more accessible one in the next car. This is the normal one. The first thing you'll notice is that the water isn't working. The 1 drop I got here is not enough. And remember, I'm the only passenger here, and there was a service crew on board when we left. Other than that, this is a nicely designed lavatory, and the materials feel premium. Let's say something about the seat comfort. These seats are hard, but not uncomfortable. These are actually pretty nice. They recline a bit with a handle underneath. You can see here how much. The near seat is fully reclined, the far seat is fully upright. Some of the spectacular views you can see from the Glacier Express include the so-called Swiss Grand Canyon. Along the Rhine River here, this is a great place for kayaking and river rafting. We are approaching the end of the journey and will arrive in Chur in approximately 30 minutes. Let's do some preliminary conclusions. If you want to see excellent Swiss engineering, including these magnificent bridges, tunnels, and just the mountain railway infrastructure, this is a great trip. Also, if you want to see the Swiss alpine countryside in a relaxed manner, also a great choice to go on the Glacier Express. However, this is not a luxury train experience, unlike the Golden Pass Express, where they have those very comfy prestige seats, or the Bernina Express, where they have the very elevated product. This is just a first-class car, a very comfortable first-class car, but the level of service here does not in any way reflect a first-class experience that you might get on a plane, for example. In addition to the service issues that I've discussed before, I also highlight the fact that the ride is rather bumpy, and we had those incidents where the train was lurching back and forth and everything kind of fell on the floor. That's not a luxury experience. There's nothing wrong with that product, but just know what you're buying when you're buying the Glacier Express. But just know what you're buying when you're buying the Glacier, I can't say. Another highlight of this route is the Landwasser Viaduct. But this clip I didn't record on the Glacier Express because I got out in Chur. No, this was the next day on the regular non-panoramic train. And that brings me to my discussion about the price and the value for money. As always, there's more information with the link in the description. The price I paid was as follows. The first-class transportation ticket I had as part of my monthly G8 travel card. That gives me access to the entire Swiss travel system. The normal price for an unrestricted first-class ticket from Zermatt to St. Moritz would be 272 Swiss francs, about $318 US. If you have the half-fare card, like many Swiss people do, you can get a day pass for 128 Swiss francs, which is $148 US. I bought a seat reservation for 49 Swiss francs, about $57 US. On top of that, there was the meal for another 49 Swiss francs, $57 US. Was it worth it? No, mostly because of the dining experience. I got the feeling that a product like the Glacier Express doesn't have to be great. The tourists will come anyway, because it's a famous train. Another aspect of the evaluation is that the Glacier Express doesn't actually go through any glaciers. So if you were expecting to go on top of the mountains and see some of the glaciers that you can access via the gondolas, for example, via this train, you're not going to get that. That is not part of this. And you might reasonably discuss whether the Glacier Express is a misleading name for this service or not. Maybe you could argue that there are some glaciers in Zermatt, there are some glaciers in St. Moritz, and the train goes between the two. But I could imagine that a lot of people take this train because they want to see that beautiful winter landscape year-round on the glaciers, and that is not available. Now, there are places in Switzerland where you can experience the glaciers and see snow even during the summer, but for that you have to go to the mountain peaks where they typically have ski resorts. One place that I have visited multiple times is Titlis in Engelberg, and they even have an ice cave there, and they do have a glacier at the top of it as well. Another place that is not so far from here is the Jungfraujoch, which is accessible via Interlaken. A much better alternative on this same route is to take the regular train. There's no food service, but there's also no seat reservation fee. Taking the normal train will mean that you'll have to switch trains a couple of times during the trip, but that's actually quite nice. You can get out in all these little villages and walk around. Maybe wait for the next train. They run about once an hour. And who wants to sit on the same train for 8 hours anyway? That's why I broke my journey in two with an overnight stay in Chur. If you do want a more proper luxury train experience in Switzerland, check out this video about the Golden Pass Express. There they have a real leather seat with electric recline and electric seat heating. So check out that video now. Thank you very much for watching Markus Travels, and I will see you in the next video.